Hello and welcome to the Consolidation Report for April 2013 to May 2013. As you see, we're going to be covering data from the 1st of April, it will be then, to the 31st of May 2013, and the rest of the information I've put in here. So yeah, let's look at, we can look at what we've got here. The diamond block. There's 4 videos passing 1,000 views, which is good. Obviously, that Thorncraft episode is still one of them, but there's 4 that passed, and there's about 4 or 5 that are very close to it. So, and they're continuing to get good numbers, because I think the important thing is, clearly the Thorncraft video was a very important video. I mean, I knew this at the time, when I made it several months. Well, it was only a few months ago actually. I think it's still less than 4 months ago, so it's not that long ago. So, I mean, obviously, when it starts saying a year ago, it's not. It's not. That's when it's sort of. I think the first year is the most important for that. And as you can see, that carries on to my gold block thing. But like I say, I've got. I'm happy that I've got a lot of videos that are rising through the ranks, through the hundreds, and the important thing I think is that I could basically make those hopefully I suppose I can make them however I want and whenever I want. So it's a case of looking obviously there's the balance to be made between actually becoming better at the game and then just making videos that are going to just do well, and it's not something that I'm of course willing to compromise on at all. So the gold block is Thorncraft. So if you recall, on the last consolidation report I spoke about how it was up to around 2,000 views. Now 2 months later, obviously we're at this stage where we're at 3,500. So yeah, I mean, if it was 4 months old, then you could say that was probably the first 2 months at 2,000. So we're at 1,500. So it is some reduction, and whether it's going to carry on going down. But I mean, like I said, the thing about that Thorncraft episode is that was such a, it was probably the type of thing that was going on there is something which, as Minecraft develops, of course, there'll be a lot more better graphical stuff. But yeah, I think that was a particularly good episode, and I did it in a certain way that I knew was going to appeal to a large audience. But the retention, like for instance, the iron block, the Omni tools, and the MFFS stuff. A lot of the mods in amps and stuff like that is kind of they seem quite popular, the amp stuff, but whether that's the problem with the amp stuff is that it doesn't seem to be. It's certainly interesting, and I think there is probably something for me. I mean, the fact that people, the Omni Tools video is about 8 or 9 minutes, and people are watching it for most people are watching for at least 5 of that 8 or 9 minutes, and. Yeah, I mean, it's and the MFFS one. I mean, some of the people. I mean, certain territories are really watching that a lot. And I've got sometimes I've got. I don't think I've got over 100%, but I was looking at the figures. I've got like a 99. I've got a 78. I've got a very, and that is an 18-minute video. So people are staying focused for 18 minutes on it. That's a quite good sign, I think. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting though, because and the good thing about those ones is those ones are actually more. I mean, Thorncraft there'll probably be a new version of Thorncraft, but stuff like that, the tools and the MFS stuff, that stuff is, you can tell that you can tell the development cycle seems to be better in terms of what's actually going to go on there. And Omni Tools, it is tied to thermal expansion, but I mean, but it's probably, but Omnitools is probably more important. It seems more important than thermal expansion. Thermal expansion doesn't necessarily do anything particularly new that isn't covered by some of the other mods, which perhaps are a bit older. And then finally, the Stone Block. Yeah, subscribe numbers continue to grow. 29. So yeah, I think yeah. I mean, it's not exactly gone very fast, the subscriber numbers, but certainly there's been a small increase in the amount of subscribers participating and watching. I might get and all. I mean, obviously, the majority of people watching are still not subscribers. I mean, I think that's just to be expected. Well, maybe. I mean, maybe that it's probably not. I mean, it's not. I would imagine that as the channel grows, it won't be like that. It'll be the other way around. That most people watching will be subscribers. But yeah, 29. I think probably 2 months ago, I probably was near about 15. So obviously doing the computer craft, which I'm going to speak about. I'm going to speak about next. But the thing about this is that I've been doing computer craft almost solidly for the last 2 months. So it's so yeah, it's not going to be. I mean, obviously, I didn't put as many good title descriptions and stuff like that in there. But yeah, I think it was good. It was good to do computer craft. It was yeah, it's just going to help me going forward as well. But it's certainly helped my subscriber numbers. I think yeah. I mean, I'm happy to be at 29, and then and I don't. I mean, I'm almost thinking about setting targets and stuff like this, but I'm not sure it's really the way to go because I don't really know. I mean, I know there's obviously times when you think if you do a part 1 of something new, then you're probably going to get some. But when I look at, and to be honest, people are subscribing all over the place. Really, it's not even most of the time they're not subscribing. They're not thinking, oh yeah, that Thorncraft video was good, let's subscribe. They're thinking of other things. But so it's not necessarily all that stuff. But anyway, what I'm going to do now is, as usual, in this tripartite form, we'll move on to the spreadsheet, and then we'll go on to the favourite build of the period. So here we go. Okay, so here we are back again in the in this table, which is getting longer by the day. So wow, gone a long way now. Gone a long way. But let's pick it up from where we left off from last time, from the second report. So we moved into here we are on the 1st of April. We carried on with Catharsis. I believe this was the continue on with this map beginning at the second intersection. So yeah, I could probably make it a bit bigger than this, I suppose. Yeah, that'll do. And yeah, so I carried on with Catharsis. It was quite an enjoyable map, and it seemed to be going well. And yeah, it's in keeping with the traditional strategy of doing CTM and parkour in a simultaneous way at the beginning of the month, as usual, really. And it's nice. I've kind of, even though, I mean, I say as usual, but obviously it's not been going that long. It's only been a few months, really. But it's I think the idea to do CTM and parkour was a good idea, because they're both types of maps that will get produced a lot, and of course there are different types of maps. There's the some sort of escape or a puzzle map or something of that nature, but realistically, most of those can actually be contained in a CTM or parkour. So, and I think that those ones are the ones which are actually better. So it's so it's not something. And then I did Hop Hop Sprint map. I remember I'd actually recorded that the previous month, the Hop Hop Sprint map. So again, that was one of those ones which were like it was just you just start it, and then you run around and up and stuff, and yeah, it was a good map though. I enjoyed that map, and yeah, it was interesting. And then I carried on with Catharsis on the 3rd and 4th of April. I actually got quite a lot of work done. Unfortunately, though, around about the end of the 3rd part of Catharsis, there was a very, very awkward water level, which kind of, unfortunately, like, sort of, I don't know, I just like, sometimes with water levels, it's like you need a bit more direction, and it's just, so I did that, and I managed to find the monument as well. Um, we'll see. And we have Newty Control Feed the Beast Part 1. I put a lot of good keywords in there. I'm also going to be at the end of this video. That's going to be the build of the month, so to speak. And yeah, it was nice video. I'd wanted to start nuclear control for some time, and I just did it then, really. It went nicely. I did a very I believe it was quite a small nuclear reactor, and yeah, it was a good way to start it. And actually, that video did quite well. So did over 100 views, which is I mean the time now it's about 115, I think. So it's one of those things, like, I mean, as long as the video goes above about 100, 120, it tends to carry on going up. So obviously, if you stuck about 4, in single figures, it's not going to go up at all ever. So I mean, but well, then again, you never know. You never know when. And then on the 6th, I did a Buildcraft for the first time. I actually did a quarry for the first time, which is kind of incredible. Like, that was the first time I actually ever done a quarry, but nevertheless, that was the case. And then I did something, because forestry had been going like, wow, forestry had been a very interesting series. I mean, what did I do? In the first one, I did a tree farm, was an arboretum possibly. And then in the second one, I explained the apiaries quite well. And that second one was a very popular video. The third one was the time when I did the zombie pigman thing. And, obviously very, that was it was quite an interesting moment. But then in the fourth one, I guess I didn't really have any particular structure. So I spent about 3/4 of an hour created bog earth. And it was a lot of fun, that episode, real lot of fun. That, I mean, that was probably that was one of the most enjoyable episodes, I think. I mean, it still stands out now as a real fun episode, that one. And then Buildcraft, did pumped extract oil. That wasn't. I mean, it was interesting. I was thinking, I guess I'd after the forestry, I've been thinking a lot about all the different types of containers. Because I've done a lot of different stuff with that forestry one. But yeah, Buildcraft, that was fine. Luckily with Buildcraft, it's sort of like, it's not going. I mean, some of the other ones are getting high numbers. Like Industrial Craft is on 13. You can see. Buildcraft, I've always done it. I've done a few bits with it. It's gonna be an interesting series, Buildcraft. I'm not quite. I like Buildcraft, really. I always have, really. So we did Industrial Craft, and it's a Tesla coil, which is sort of like, I don't know, it's weird. It's just like, if you're within range of it, then the enemies will die, basically. And I've been thinking, because it was to do with the zombie pigman thing, that I was thinking, like, oh, if you can, like, route the enemies a certain way, or, and it's basically thinking about how you turn something that kill the enemies to an actual legitimate mob trap. And there was a lot of thinking behind that. And then the computer craft began. So I've actually prepared a lot of my notes here. I mean, not all of them, but I mean, well, in fact, I've got most of them apart from the ones that are very recent. So, and those I can just recall anyway. But so, as it's fairly obvious, I've done a lot of episodes of Computer Craft. I've gone from part 3. In the last 2 months alone, I've gone from part 3 to part 45. So that is a serious amount of parts. 43 parts, in fact. But, yeah. So, so I looked at these things at the beginning. Looked at refueling turtles. I looked doing a shell run on a console. Obviously, in the beginning, things that you do look at, just simply a label set to set the computer or the turtle name. set cursor position, something which I looked at recently as well. And you know, and I consider I made a definition of the fact that a lot of the turtle dot commands are going to return a Boolean value. So I thought of that. I thought of functions. I thought of refueling. Just refueling, getting to move. You can see there on the one on the 10th. Yeah, it will probably be easier. Yeah, I mean, I could say from part three and four. Part 3 and 4, I looked at these sort of things. I wanted to give a sort of general. I mean, in the beginning parts, it was kind of like sort of like an introduction. And part 3 and 4, I wanted a general kind of. I wanted to talk about all the different things about the for loops. Talked about creating variables, all this sort of stuff. While loop. I wanted to think about the difference between the kind of shell and lower command line. And I wanted to think. I wanted to look at all the different methods. I wanted to look at inequality with this. Was it scintilla? I always get it wrong. It's either scintilla or cedilla. You know, cedilla equals scintilla. I'd probably go for scintilla equals. And yeah, so I also considered, you know, like while a variable while doing, you know, A or B or whatever, then this, while this, if this, if, you know, obviously if then you put a variable name, and that's obviously, you know, getting the accessor for the Boolean there. So I looked at a lot of that stuff really. I looked at some of the logical operators in there as well. Yeah, so that went nice. That went pretty well. I was quite happy with that. And I think yeah. Then anyway, so once we moved on to part 5, I started to actually you know, kicking into gear a bit more. So as you can see, we've got part 5 here on the 14th. That should be part 5. Oh no, indeed it wasn't. No, on the 12th. Sorry, this is why I start kicking on. Is this part 5? This should be part 5, right? I think that's part 5. Yeah, it is. Okay, so right, so I looked at the pumpkin farm, and obviously, you know, so I did a for loop. I defined the variables, farm length, farm rows. I looked at you know, like how long it's going to wait. Obviously, with pumpkins, the good thing is it works slightly differently. So I think watermelons work the same actually. Well, it doesn't just grow on that square. It grows on the either, I suppose, horizontally, or yeah, horizontally or forward and back squares. So that's how I did it. And yeah, so I did that with the farm. And that took me, I mean, how many episodes? That took me three episodes to do that, and it was a lot of fun. Did a lot of different variables. It was good to put in a lot of for loops, a lot of yeah, to be honest, a lot of time was wasted just writing turtle dot, you know, all this stuff, which will eventually be corrected later on. Obviously, did some check fuel stuff. So we'll move down to seeding program now. Just using a turtle.detect to build the seeding there. Then we moved on to logging, just comparing with what's in the inventory. Then we moved on to the mining program, which was it was a bit more substantial, the mining program. Yeah, it was, to be honest, it was quite a lot more substantial. You know, there were things like, you know, it began becoming more of a functions game, really. You know, defining if things were valuable and things like that. So I looked at that stuff, defining sort of current heights and things like that. Yeah, local depth. And then here on the 24th, let's see where this is. So about part 17 now. Obviously, I went into, you know, a great deal more detail in the actual episodes, but it's, you know, yeah, and depending on the things I'd be watching at the time, I suppose I would have possibly added some more different tidbits on that. Oh yeah, I looked at on the wall. Obviously, it was a first sort of user argument sort of thing. That was the first time I did that. That was very important actually. And then I sort of yeah, and then after doing that, I introduced that to the well, no, I didn't really introduce it actually to the mining. The mining program was already kind of done. Really, it had a lot. It was a lot of RedNet integration, a lot of the RedNet commands, and I got it working between the turtle and the computer quite well. And then back to it was, and then after a long period, after part 19, we were on the 27th and 28th of April. So I then did double OR gate and double NOR gate. Previously, I decided to do what I'd done is I'd done a double invert, and basically inverting the signal twice. And I wanted it, to be honest, it was a bit of yeah. So what I did here is I wanted to also do to keep with the double thing, and so what I did is I did like horizontal and vertical configurations of an OR and NOR, and then that kind of and it was kind of like it's in parallel because obviously I've done the OR and NOR before, but it's like it was different construction, but it was a different way to do things, and definitely something that I'm going to be building on in the future. Okay, so once that was done, I did a smelting program. That went very well as well. It was less about moving around, more about checking items, comparing, detecting, that sort of stuff. So yeah. Then we did Jump Dream Part 1, and that was, I mean, to be honest, I think that's actually the most successful. I mean, it's only got 37 views, but I think it is actually the most successful adventure map I've done yet. And I've put that as it's the default video at the moment, and yeah, obviously, yeah, and obviously, and later on, actually in May, rather, because I have to talk about the switch over to the new channel format as well. But that went very well. Very, very good map. Very good parkour map. Now with Catharsis, which I did on the 2nd and 3rd here, I started to get a bit drained of Catharsis, and it became apparent I didn't really want to actually do the whole map. But I did fly around quite a lot in these 2 episodes, looking at various different areas that I hadn't covered. And yeah, and then the jump I basically done the first 6 levels. Yeah, but I think Jump Dream is looking good, and obviously coming up. So right, so next up, so new in here, I think in May, yeah, we've started to focus. I started to focus on GPS stuff. Yeah, it just became more about GPS. And to be honest, I mean, yeah, I probably will need to change some of these descriptions. When you read them, it's not as informative as usual. But I really need to go through with a fine tooth comb and expand on some of these. Would be useful. But yeah, it was GPS. It was obviously changing the Go API really helped, because it meant that I could put in more sophisticated commands straight from the command line. I wouldn't have to type turtle.turn right, for instance. No, I'd be sorry, that wasn't one. But for instance, like turtle.forward could be simplified to t.fd, which made things, and then of course when you actually put it in Go, it would actually just be Go and then FD and then place down would be PD, and then and it would just make things a lot easier. Then dig down, it would be DD or something. So it would make things a lot easier. So there was Go, there was GPS, API testing I did. I then worked, yeah, the TA, I'll talk for a moment about TA API. Obviously, it was the first time I really thought of 0 as north, 2 as south, 1 as east, and 3 as west. And obviously we considered the 4 main things of the X, the Y, the Z, and the facing. And it's the first time I really thought about it like that. And then just looking at the program I've got here, I did check fuel, I did update location, making sure that we're facing the right way, and yeah, and I just did that. Initialize location to open the thing, get location, get each of the X, Y, and Z coordinates separately. Returning what to find out what direction is being faced by doing modulo 4. And then basically the good thing was that it was basically a way to put in all the different to define back as to define these things properly so that we could actually update location correctly. Facing go to, and it was really handy because literally you can just pipe where you want the thing to go and then it does. And then I had to do a bit of, and this is all stuff going on sort of, I haven't really referred much back to here, but this is all going on in basically between about the 5th and the 20th of May, I would say. So I didn't put many descriptions in here, but I was doing a lot of stuff with all these different programs. I was moving stuff around. It's with these things you can't really just I suppose you could, but it's not the simplest thing in the world to I was installing Note++ and stuff. I think there are things to learn from it, and I will definitely have to review this and look through it again. And then finally we ended up with did some advanced logging stuff, and eventually I ended up plugging that into the smelter as well. So it was logging, it was automated, it was remote, it was cool. And I believe I did a little more. To be honest, this was the point where I thought, maybe I should go back, because I started thinking about relays, and I thought I was thinking about like serializing stuff, and doing a whole sort of a whole thing really of remote, basically remote control terminals. But yeah, to be honest, I got it was part of the code where I was thinking like this thing with 2-string, 2-number. How to serialize the text utils.serialize. It was something which I felt after a while doing the relays, doing this sort of stuff, that I needed to think about in much more detail. And it seemed like a more advanced part of the code, which perhaps was this os.pull event raw and stuff like that was a little bit beyond what I wanted to do. And also it would just detract from the whole point of the channel in a way. So after that, at about the 20th, I thought, what, I'm going to cover. I'm spending a certain amount of time covering this mod. So let's think about, doing all the different areas. Try and think as much different stuff to do. Not necessarily get to an advanced level, but just try and think of all the different things that are actually involved in the mod. That's the whole. That is in a way the whole point of doing it, to cover all the items. So yeah. So yeah, and then. So in the recent days, in the last sort of week or so, I've been doing that sort of stuff. I've been looking at the RedNet interactivity, Redstone interactivity. I've really enjoyed. Particularly I think it was the 21, the 22nd, which would have been part 39. Yeah, no, is that? Let's just check this. I think it might have been 38 actually. No, it's 39. Yeah. So that one, being able to send like a pulse, a redstone pulse every certain amount of seconds, a certain amount of redstone pulses, it's pretty cool. And yeah, so I went through that, did some of this math API. I really got some nice tidy code. I really was quite enjoyed that. And fine. And then of course I did the same that I'd done the previous month. I did double AND, double NAND this time. Went quite well. And yeah, and then the last couple of days, just a bit more on if statements. And those have been quite fun episodes. The 29th and 30th have been fun. And here we are on the third consolidation report. I've used the same. Funnily enough, it was like I did very default keywords here. At the beginning of the ComputeCraft stuff, though, I kept on. It's funny. I was just typing it out. I see that I kept on getting it slightly wrong, and then eventually I realised what I was doing. I standardised it, similar to actually what was going on in the Industrial Craft to keyword naming. And yeah, so that's Okay, so yeah, so finish off the consolidation report. Let's do my favourite thing of the last couple of months, and it is. Well, I probably haven't quite got another room here, but I suppose I can make more. Yeah, I want to keep all my stuff there. So how do I do this? I basically put down a nuclear reactor there, and I think I put another one here, and then like here. Yeah, this might be it might be a slightly different shape, but we'll see. You should still get the same sort of effect there, actually. Because the whole point was I wanted to show like the different places. Let's just I just want to check that. Yeah, that looks good actually. So yeah, it would be slightly different. To be honest, that one wasn't. I mean, wasn't exactly. It was nothing to write home about anyway. The actual design a bit of it. This one may even end up looking better. I think it will. And then, oh yeah, I didn't get my MFSU. I've got enough nuclear reactors out, so I'll just replace it there. So we'll just alright, and so what I basically did was I put redstone all around it and then wired up to a lever. So let's do that again. Actually use a repeater then, but I might be able to get around not using one this time. So once you do that, it actually stops connecting to the thing. It's just kind of... So I could do something like this. No, then it won't connect either. So I need to do that. Then I can do that. Yeah, so it can't... Well, no, it doesn't connect still. Alright, let's just... Okay. So what I'm going to do, I think, is just you know, just do it the normal way, really. Yeah, I'm going to have to be further out here. And to be honest, I think I will have to put another repeater in here. And of course, the problem is this time is that unlike the original one, which it's Nuclear Control Part 1, it's uploaded in the beginning of April. I suppose, I mean, yeah, the difference is I suppose I can turn them on separately. But that's not really a huge advantage. And yeah, because there's just no way to do this corner bit. Yeah. So I guess I'm just gonna go down this line. Oh well. And yeah. And yeah, I'm going to actually fill them up here because it was not going to take me that long actually to do this. So if you recall, I did so that's 5 EU per tick, and then once we have 2, there's 2 adjacent, so each of them becomes 10 each, so it becomes 20, and then we get to the 35. And you recall that 30k, 10k cells were not enough, so 30k was used instead. Yeah, you know what, it may actually be more sensible if I do exactly this what I did last time and actually cut it, because it's going to take quite a while. Well, nah, fuck it, actually, it won't take that long. here. Not quite. Alright, let's just get loads more 30k. Okay, and a few more of these. Keep it going for a bit longer. There we go, there's a second. Third. I don't think it makes much difference which one I put it in. It's gonna have to be on the edge of it anyways. So and yeah, I may need to get another repeater out. But this should, I think, you know, while not exactly 100% the same, it's so similar that. And to be honest, even though this was like the first one I created, it's actually a pretty good reactor. Because I don't think just having one very, very powerful large reactor is the way to go, really. I mean, it could be, but if you can have multiple reactors, then yeah, it's definitely an issue. You know, like I said in the original video, that I'm going to have to look at more. I'll get a few more, and I'll fill the rest with uranium cells. So how are we doing here? Okay, so what's that? 1, 2, 3. So this should just about, well, very close to doing it. And you recall, of course, I said was it a water cell with tin up and down, and then to create the 31s, you need 3 of the 10s. I think that's what I was saying. Just yep, so that's that one. And oh, wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I have done them all. Yeah, I have. Alright, so let's start. Interestingly, actually, I could possibly, if I started the signal light here, maybe I could do it without a repeater. Because I did kind of not really start in the best place before. Let's try just putting a lever anywhere, like here. Yeah, they're all on. And that's on as well. Wow. So that is better than the original one because there's no repeater required. And then what I basically did was I said, look, this is 35. This is 35. I was curious about this, but I suppose this is actually still within the block. So even though it looks like it's part of this thing, it's not really. And then we got 105, which was the same, and then going into here it was 175, and that was all that there was to it. And then I looked at, and yeah, and then I looked at these things, and also I didn't mention, but I think the coolant cells actually recover when you turn them off. But yeah, so that's good, isn't it? Especially, I do like the fact that, yeah, the redstone wiring, which I didn't really consider last time. It's terrible last time. It's still not great this time, to be honest. But yeah, it's just if you go too near to it. I mean, I could definitely cut out a lot of that left-hand corner bit, and there's no real reason why. Yeah, I could possibly copy what I've done in the right side on the left-hand side. Yeah, in fact, I'm sure that would work. It would definitely work. But I haven't chosen to do that. But it's still. I mean, it's a good way of doing things with these nuclear reactors, I think. And there's definitely, you know. So there. I mean, so that's basically it for the consolidation report. The whole thing now. Yep. So that's it for another 2 months. Thanks for watching.